I've been getting these comments lately saying, I would like to paint to relax after a long day of work, and I do have some ideas on what to paint with watercolors. But whenever I have time, I don't really feel like painting at all because I'm just so drained. After a long day of working and dealing with all the necessary tasks or my everyday life, all I want is cuddle up with a cup of tea or coffee and just binge watch Netflix and not move at all. So after all of that, how am I supposed to have enough energy to create art? But the problem with that is if you always feel like you're so busy that when you do have free time, all you want to do is nothing, that means you're headed towards burnout. And in this video, I wanted to help you overcome these thoughts and really take time to unwind and to relax. Prepare everything you'll need in advance to minimize friction and make it easy for you. Now, this tip might sound really obvious to you, and you probably know that the easier you make something for yourself, the easier it will be for you to start or to stop doing something, right? But in reality, when was the last time you actively made this commitment when it came to painting? So for example, if just the thought of setting up your painting area over and over again so you can paint for 15 minutes makes you feel like it's not worth it at all, then it's time to change something. Instead, pull everything together you might need and keep it together. You can use a pouch where you have all your supplies you'll need, for example. And if you're thinking, but Mako, I don't even have a table to sit down to paint because I had to give up my workspace for the kids, for remote learning, don't worry. You can still create a small space for yourself where you feel happy to paint. Instead of relying on a table, maybe use a sketchbook to paint. Or you can use a clipboard and attach your paper with tape so you can comfortably use your loose sheets of paper. You can even use a tray and place water jars and all the supplies you need next to you when you paint so you're not too afraid to spill the water everywhere, and you can also place it wherever you will have easy access the next time you want to paint. You don't have to be super fancy. Take it step by step and enjoy the little moments. Now you know how to make it easier for you to get started with watercolor painting. But whenever you start thinking about painting something, you might be imagining how much time and effort it will take for you to actually paint something. So you might automatically feel tired just thinking about it. If this is you, let me know in the comments down below. You might be also thinking that you need to spend a lot of time painting and be super creative about what to paint. But the truth is, you don't really need to spend 4 hours painting to make it count. Instead, take it step by step and enjoy the process. Decide to sit down and paint for only 10 or 20 minutes, that's it. This won't feel like such a huge task or a chore for you, and it will make it so much easier for you to get started, right? It's like working on a project. If you think about how you have to write a 100-page paper or prepare a whole presentation with thousands of slides, you'd rather hide and procrastinate because it feels just too overwhelming, right? But if you decide, today I'll spend just 25 minutes on just outlining the introduction, it will feel a lot more doable and less overwhelming, right? So even if you only paint for 10 or 15 minutes on a consistent basis, you'll get into a habit to sit down and paint, even just for a little bit. It's like not feeling like going to the gym. When you don't feel like going, it's most likely when you need it the most. Because after the workout, you know you will feel so much happier, accomplished, and so proud of yourself that you actually went there. So painting for just a few minutes with your art supplies already set up, you'll be more likely to pick up the brush and paint. And once you get started, you'll most likely discover how quickly your fatigue fades and how much fun you have to create that it will give you the energy back to actually keep going. Focus on the process, not the outcome. You might be thinking, but what's the point in just painting for a few minutes? What can I even paint in such a short period of time that doesn't look like a hot mess? If you sit down to paint with the outcome in mind, you'll most likely end up feeling stuck and feel like it's just another task on your to-do list. But if you want to incorporate a hobby into your life so you don't burn out eventually, you want to treat it as a date with yourself where you show up to enjoy the creative process with an open mind. Instead of thinking, after 15 minutes, I better have something to show for, release the pressure of producing something and just focus on putting paint onto the paper. I know it's easier said than done, especially if you falling into the habit of constantly thinking this way, but you really want to relax, right? So you have to remind yourself that it's not about creating and having a quality end result, but whether or not you made the time to make something for yourself. Because even if you only paint for 15 minutes and you need to go back to doing something else, you'll still just spend 15 minutes of quality time with yourself that helped you ground yourself and relax for even just a few minutes. Just like 3 minutes of breath work, meditation, or just closing your eyes. I mean, that's more than if you didn't do anything at all, right? Pick a time where you feel more energized. Maybe you do feel simply too tired and too fatigued the later it gets in the day, so even if you have a space and all your supplies ready to create for 15 minutes, you still feel way too exhausted to do anything. And that's okay. Don't feel guilty about that. Don't feel like you have to if there's no way you can work less during the day or you just really need to rest. I personally feel this way. I notice that the later it gets, the less I feel like doing anything. And that's why I focus on my priorities early in the morning until midday. So for you, you might need to wake up just a few moments earlier than the rest. So instead of forcing yourself to stay up late to paint something and then regretting it the next day, wake up 30 minutes or 1 hour earlier and set aside time in the morning when your brain is fresh and there's like no distractions and you can just paint. It's sort of like meditation early in the morning to ground yourself and to prepare yourself for the day. And you have also something colorful to look at later as well. But maybe you wish you could invest more time during the week, but instead of feeling guilty that you can't paint during the week, make a conscious decision that you'll be painting on the weekend. This way you can dedicate a specific time on the weekend just for yourself where you can paint and relax without feeling guilty. I think that's super important. And you also have something to look forward to during the week, right? Make yourself a priority. Now you might be thinking, even if you have all the supplies and the best intentions to do something for yourself, you simply can't. There's just always something to do. When you have lots of responsibilities, it can be very challenging to put yourself first, right? You might even feel guilty to do that. But putting yourself first is not being selfish. As I said earlier, if you're at the point where you think, who the heck has time for a hobby? And you always feel like you're so busy that when you do have free time, all you want to do is nothing. That means you're headed towards burnout. And when you're burned out, you're not your best self. So how can you take care of everyone and everything else when you feel burned out, unhappy, cranky, and constantly tired? And you've probably heard this a million times, but it all starts with taking care of yourself first. And if you feel happy and you're in a better mood, your surroundings will notice that as well. Stick to your priority. Even if you have a space to create all your supplies and your priority is to take better care of yourself, it's very easy to move things around and eventually cancel on yourself. Meaning you might be even so committed that you schedule the time for yourself, but then this or that comes up, or you continue doing what you were doing before and you just completely ignore your date with yourself. And I totally get that. When it comes to honoring your commitment to others, it's so much easier to stick to them and to actually show up because you don't want to be a bad friend, mom, dad, or just simply don't want to let people down, right? You probably also want people to know that they can count on you. So there are visible consequences involved if you cancel on your family and friends. But when it comes to you, you might feel like that there are no visible consequences because if you cancel your self-care date with yourself, it's basically on you. And you might think that it's not that important. And I believe we all know that we should take care of ourselves and actually stick to the time we scheduled for ourselves, right? But it simply became a habit to put everyone and everything first and being stood up by your own self. So in order to break through this habit, again, remind yourself that everything starts with you being your best self. Therefore, you must treat yourself as a priority in your life and treat the time you set for yourself as a non-negotiable and precious time that needs to be treated as such. Now, you might feel motivated and ready to create art even after or before work, but maybe you just don't know what to paint. In my next video, I'll show you a few simple watercolor painting ideas you can try out that will take you just a few minutes. In the meantime, you can check out the videos right here so you can already get started and create momentum. I really hope you liked this video and found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!